the Beit HaMikdash. So Lamed Bet Lamed Aleph Amar Aleph, 31a, 31a2 on the bottom. B'musfei de Shabbatam mahu imrim. What did they say on Musaf of Shabbat? Meaning, we established that on Shabbat itself, they said Mizmashil Yom Shabbat, the Shachrit, like we say, today is the day of Shabbat, Mizmashil Yom Shabbat. So that's what they said Shabbat in the morning for Shachrit. What did they say at Musaf? What was the appropriate song to sing at Musaf on Shabbat? So the Gemara says, what did they sing at Musaf? So the Gemara says, they said, Omer Rav Anan bar Rabba Omer Rav Haziv Lach. These are acronyms. We're turning the page now. 31a3 is it's the Pashas Hazinu. It's coming up soon. The Pashas Hazinu. This week's Pashas Kisavo. Then they Safim Ayilech, and then we have Hazinu. And in Hazinu, it's a song. Hazina Hashemayim V'Deber. If you look at the way it's written in the Torah, it's written in a song, a very interesting fashion. The way it's written in the Torah was the song, and they break up that song into 6 parts. Pashas Hazinu. It's broken up into 6 parts. The first part, the first stanza, starts from Hazinu. The second stanza starts from the Zion, stands for Zechor Yemot Olam. The third is Yarkevei, and so on and so forth. Each one represents a certain section in the parsha of Hazinu that we say, good morning, that we say on that we when we read the parsha Hazinu, that's what on the Musaf on Shabbat, this is what they sung. V'omer Rav Chanan bar Rava, Rav Chanan bar Rava says, K'derech shechalukin kan kachalukin beit hakneset. The same way it was broken up into 6 different parts in the song, right? The song was broken into 6 different parts. So too, the same parts of the song, each part will be an aliyah. There will be an aliyah when we read the Torah on Shabbat Hazinu. Part number 1 of the song will be aliyah number 1, the Kohen's aliyah. Part number 2 of the song will be the Levi's aliyah, and so on and so forth. And after you reach after those 6 parts, so then part number 7, the aliyah number 7 is after those 6 parts comes aliyah number 7. Now, that's how you would go ahead. And now the question is, what does it mean 6 parts to the song, right? Did they sing this? If did they sing each part, each Shabbat? The Gemara's going to ask the question. What does it mean? Every Shabbat they sang 1 part of Hazinu, and it took 6 weeks. And every 6 weeks they started again the song, or was it all sung on 1 Shabbat? Except a song, sometimes you have a pause in a song or a different tone to end the stanza of a song, or you take out different instruments. So was it broken into 6 parts on the same Shabbat, and each part there was some change of instruments, of change of tone, or was it all done on 1 Shabbat? That's what the Gemara is going to ask in a minute. But what the Gemara now is saying, that it was broken up into 6. It was broken up into 6 parts, and that's what they sung on the Musaf of Shabbat. Now it's interesting that for some reason the rabbis did not say that by Musaf that we need to say that the song that the Leviim sung in the Beit HaMikdash at Musaf. We only emphasize in the davening the song that the Leviim sang at Shabbat Kodesh, which was done at the Shachrit, which was done with the morning offering of the Korban Ola that was brought in the communal burnt offering that was brought in the morning, the pouring of the wine on the Mizbech. There they sang the song Mizmashil Yom Shabbat, but we don't go out of our way and say, what did they sing at Musaf? In our prayers, we don't say this is what they sung at Musaf. Similarly, the Gemara is going to say, what did they sing at Mincha? The Mincha, the Shabbat Mayom. What did they sing at Mincha? So the Gemara is telling us they did not sing the same song, Mizmor Shel Yom Shabbat, in the morning, afternoon, morning and Musaf and afternoon. Every time was a different song. Just like every day was a different song. And every day was a different song. Every morning was a different song. So even the day of Shabbat, they had 3 different songs on the day of Shabbat. So Minchat during the week they would have 12, right during the week. Okay, so that we would have to see. We have to see it. No, very good. We have to see what regarding that. So far, our Gemara did not yet discuss that. That's something definitely to look into. So the Gemara says, I mean, we had earlier in the Gemara that the Levium made a mistake, right? The Levium made a mistake when Rosh Hashana, when they accepted when the witnesses came late in the day, right? What happened when the witnesses came in late in the day? So one opinion was that the problem was that they sang the mincha, the weekday song, and that was a mistake. They were supposed to sing the song of Rosh Hashana, because Rosh Hashana in the afternoon had a different song, and so we have to see over there, what was that song that they sang in the afternoon, that mistaken song according to that weekday song. Okay, but getting back over here, so the Gemara says, I mean, the Rambam talks about the songs. We'd have to take out the Rambam. Maybe they'll tell us something, exactly regarding the songs. So he says, "Mincha de Shabbat ma'omer." What did they sing by Mincha of Shabbat? Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says, "Oz." Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says. By the way, I think there is even a discussion. Did they sing songs in the afternoon as well as the morning? For our Gemara, it seems like there was definitely songs in the afternoon that was sung. For our Gemara. The Mincha de Shabbat and Mahom. Rabbi Yochanan, Oz Yashir. The Oz Yashir Moshe V'nei Yisrael that we sing every morning, that's what they sang in the afternoon. And they sang Umicha. They sang Oz Yashir. The first stanza of the song was, or the song that they sang was broken up. Oz Yashir was broken up into 2 songs, 2 parts. Oz Yashir from the beginning of the song until Micha Mocha Be'ilim Hashem, Micha Mocha Nedna B'Kodesh. So that was the first part of the song, and then which was from Pasuk Aleph, let's say chapter 15, Aleph to Yud, first 10 psukim. And then from Pasuk Yud Aleph to Yud Chet, from 11 to 18, they sang Micha Mocha Be'ilim Hashem, and they sang until the end of Pasuk Yud Chet. And the third song that they sang on Shabbat Mincha was Oz Yashir, another Oz Yashir. What was this Oz Yashir? This Oz Yashir was in Bamidbar, Sefer Bamidbar, in contrast to the Oz Yashir that we sing every morning is in Sefer Shemot, in Parashat B'Shalach. In Bamidbar, the Jewish people, when they were traveling in the desert, the enemies hid in the mountains, and the Jewish people were passing a certain narrow area. The enemy said, we're going to throw rocks at them and stones at them, with arrows at them. We're going to go ahead and ambush them because we got them in this narrow area that they're going to be going through, let's say an hour, and we're going to go ahead and ambush them. What Hashem made a miracle was that the mountains, instead of the mountains they hit on both sides, like in the cave in the mountain, and getting ready to come. When the Jews will pass by this narrow area, they'll just, when you're in a narrow area, it's when the ability of killing people is much easier than when people are scattered about. So when they're piercing like single file, so to speak, or very small amount, very, very narrow, very compressed, but Hashem made a miracle that the mountains came together. So the two mountains, let's say there was this brook in between that the Jewish people were passing by. So the mountains came together and the enemies got killed, got squashed together in the mountains. And then, but how did the Jewish people know about it? Because when they saw the water, they saw that the water below was blood in the water. And once they saw the blood in the water, they knew that there was a great miracle happened. They realized what happened. The enemy was planning to do an attack. Like people attack people. A lot of people are planning attacks. Another attack on the president, President Trump. People are planning attacks. They were planning this attack, and the mountains came together, and they got killed. Enemy got killed.
This is the Parsha or Simon situation.
No, this is a different. This is before Sichon.
Okay.
Sichon was more at the end of the 40 years. This is during that time period, and Sefer B'Midbar discusses this amazing miracle. We have to. Rashi fills in the blank. Rashi and the Chumash fills in the blank. What was this song all about? The song was all about this situation that happened. Fascinating situation. What do you say, Asaf? So therefore, that it makes a lot. You can understand why the rabbis picked this song, and they sang Oz Yoshia, and there was a song that the Jewish people sang in thankful to Hashem for this miracle. So therefore, when the Leviim are going to be singing songs in the Beit HaMikdash, he felt let's let them say this song. Let them say the song of Oz Yoshia Moshe B'nai Yisrael, which would talk about the miracles of the Exodus, the splitting of the sea, the drowning of the Egyptians. That's the Oz Yoshia Moshe. And let's also say, and that was broken up into two parts. And also this part of this song that the Jewish people sang in commemoration of the great miracle that happened while they were in the desert. There were many miracles that happened to the Jewish people in the desert. There was the manna that came from heaven. There was the miraculous, well, in the merit of Miriam that was supplying them water. There was the clouds that knocked down the mountains and mowed down the mountains to have a clear, smooth path, a smooth road to the, imagine you're in the desert, morning, David, and having all these mountains and mountains to climb. So that's one of the things that the clouds did. The clouds mowed down the mountains, and then also the clouds provided Hashem was like it enveloped the people, the clouds that protected them from the heat of the day and the coldness of the night, which is really what we're going to be. Before you know it, Sukkot is coming, and the main opinion is why does the Torah Hashem say that we should live in a sukkah? Why a sukkah? Because a sukkah, because Hashem says, because man yedu doratechem, I want all the generations to know, the future to know. Ki basukot hoshafti et bnei Yisrael. I placed the Jewish people in Sukkot. I had clouds of glory, Anani Akavod, that protected the Jewish people throughout the 40 years from the heat of the day and the coldness of the night. So our sukkah that we're making is like a replica of some sort, is reminding about this miracle of the exodus of the clouds that protected us by the day and by the night. And when you're sitting in the sukkah, the Bach says you're supposed to be thinking about the reason for the mitzvah. There's certain mitzvot that the Torah actually gave the reason for the mitzvah. So especially those mitzvot, when you're doing those mitzvot, you're supposed to be focusing on that. So if the Torah goes ahead and he says, the Torah says, I want you to go ahead and wear a talit. Rita motos kartem et kol mitzvot Hashem. You look at the talit and you remember all the mitzvot. The talit, according to Rashi, but the word tzitzit, you look at the tzitzit is equal 600. The numerical value of tzitzit is 600, plus 8 strings and 5 knots is 613. When you look at the tzitzit, you should remember all the 613 mitzvot. So when you put on your talit, you should be thinking about the fact that when you're doing the mitzvah of tzitzit, you're remembering all the mitzvot. When you're putting on your tefillin, The Torah says, "Amanti et Torah Hashem beficha ki b'chozek yod hotzion Hashem mitzrayim." The Torah connects the mitzvah of tefillin, the remembrance of the power that Hashem took us out of Egypt, because the tefillin contains in it parts of the Torah. Monei Haron, it has the parsha of Kadesh v'Yikviyacha, which Kadesh v'Yikviyacha, good morning, talks about the strength that Kadesh li kol b'chol petach l'recha b'nei Yisrael. Right? They open up. How do they open up the davening of the Kadesh? The Dav Hashem Moshe Lema Kadesh li kol b'chol. What's that all about? That's all. That's talking about that Hashem says you have to sanctify your firstborn, because Hashem saved the firstborn of the Jewish people, and therefore we have to sanctify our firstborn, and we have to redeem our firstborn male, and we have to give the firstborn animal to the Kohen. So then the Torah says, I want this on your hand. I want this on your head. I want this. I want you to remember the Exodus. I want you to remember the strength that Hashem that I took you out of Egypt. So with all those miracles, so when you're putting on your tefillin, you're supposed to be thinking about not just like putting on tefillin, what the message of the tefillin, of the Exodus, of remembering the power, the miracles of Hashem. That's why it's important to say Vaydav Hashem and Moshe Le'ema Kadesh li kol b'chor. If you don't say it in the beginning of the davening, if you're running late, you can say it after the davening before you take off your tefillin. So at least when you have your tefillin on, you're saying those psukim that talk about the Exodus. You're remembering the Exodus. You're remembering the message of the tefillin while message of the tefillin while you're wearing the tefillin.
So much say that before they
Most people say it right after they put it on.
Right.
Now, many people see before you put on, to help us get into that mindset of the mitzvah. So, there's the Shem Yuchad Kutcha Brichos. There's something that before people put on tefillin, where they talk about Harini Mechavein. I have a mind by Nochat Arba Pashut Elu. I have a mind when I'm putting on the tefillin that has the Yichud Shemo, but the tefillin has the Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, has Yitziat Mitzrayim. It talks about the Exodus in the tefillin, but there are 4 parashot in the tefillin. There's the parasha of Kadesh, V'hoye Kviyacha, second parasha, Shema, and V'hoyim Shemoah. Those are the 4 parashot that contain the tefillin. Your mezuzah contains 2 parashot, the parasha of Shema and the parasha of V'hoyim Shemoah. Morning, Simon. You have the parasha Shema until Avisharecha, and you have the parasha V'hoyim Shemoah until Kamei Shemayim Ala Aretz. So those 2 parashas talk about, Shema talks about the oneness of Hashem, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, and which we say that with tefillin. So Shema is part of the davening that we have, and we say V'hoyim Shemoah, which talks about reward and acceptance of the mitzvot. To listen to all the mitzvot, the idea of reward and punishment. So, but here, before you put on the tefillin, if you say the L'Shem Yuchud, you're saying you're putting it on the hand, corresponding the heart, and on the head, corresponding the brains, facing the brains, in order to remember the miracles that God did with us. Right? Morning, Sammy. So we remember the miracles. So that's what that's what we say. People say before they put on the tefillin. But if you say that before you put on the tefillin, and you put on tefillin, you don't remember the miracles. So you said, I'm doing this for that purpose, but but we have to remember why you actually have it on. But that's why these things before with the performance of a mitzvah, it's very, very, very appropriate to say these things that are stated in the Siddur before you do the mitzvah. Because if you do that, it gets you into the mindset about what you are about to do, right? By the fact that you are saying, I'm going to be putting on the tefillin in order to remember the miracles. So now when I put on the tefillin, I'm going to remember the miracles. You see what I'm saying? Simon, you hear what I'm saying? That's why it's important to say, let's say, the Shem Yuchad Kutcha Bricha before, Mahin Mechavein. Many mitzvot, you have something to say before you do the mitzvah, and that will help you in your intent and your focus on the mitzvah. Number one, you're doing the mitzvah because Hashem commanded you, but also to think about what the reason for the mitzvah is. So therefore, like we said, Sukkot, everybody has to be, that's why it's very important. Before people walk into a sukkah, they say the ushpizin, right? Like you invite the guests, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, you invite the guests that, the great former great leaders, the shepherds of Israel that we invite to the sukkah. But part of that invitation talks about I have a mind to fulfill the mitzvah of sukkah, and I'm remembering the sukkot of old that Hashem took us out of, protected us while we were in the desert. So we should have that mindset in mind when we are doing the mitzvah, the reason of the mitzvah. So now the Gemara says, Iboilu. So they asked the following question. Hani kulu b'chad Shabbat amilu. All of these, good morning, Jack, right? All of these were said in one Shabbat, meaning we said Hazinu, there were 6 parts to the song to Hazinu, to the song of Hazinu. And that's how we said those 6 parts of the song of Hazinu, those are the 6 aliyah, the first 6 aliyot of Pasha Hazinu. Each aliyah is one of those parts, one of those stanzas of the song. But when the Levium sang in the Beit HaMikdash at Mincha of Shabbat, the Levium sang Pashat Hazinu. One second. I'm sorry. They sang Hazinu on the Musaf. I'm sorry. The Musaf of Shabbat. Musaf of Shabbat that they sang Hazinu. Right? We said at Mincha, they sang Oz Yoshir. And they sang Oz Yoshir, 2 parts of Oz Yoshir. And they sang also the Oz Yoshir. There's another song we said in Pashas Bamidbar that we said before when the Jewish people were traveling in the desert. The enemy hid in the caves and the mountains, and they were about to ambush the Jewish people while they were passing through the narrow area between the mountains. Hashem moved the mountains together, and the enemy got squashed and they got killed. And the Jewish people realized that when they saw the blood of the enemy in the water, and then they sang a song. So that's what we're going to sing at Mincha. But the question the Gemara wants to know is, were they all sang on one Shabbat? Every Shabbat you had all these 6 parts of Hazinu and Musaf, and the Oz Yoshir, the total Oz Yoshir, which was, and plus this other Oz Yoshir, or was it a rotation? Was it 1 week was the first part of Oz Yoshir? Because we said Oz Yoshir was broken into 6 parts. The second week was the second part, which would take 6 weeks to finish the cycle of Oz Yoshir. Then you would start again every 6 weeks. They would start again. That's the question the Gemara is going to ask. And the Gemara is going to say that it was done in rotation. Every week there was 1 part. I don't want anyone to be late. I want to wish everyone a beautiful day.